I just finished watching the Netflix show Squid Game, and I'll tell you what, I'm conflicted. I'm trying to decide if it's good. For example, is it good enough to recommend to a friend? Well, my answer is it depends on the friend. For some sick-minded friends like myself, it's a definite yes. And for those with weaker stomachs, I would caution them. But I'll say this, it's definitely got shock factor. But as far as deep character development and overall dialogue, well, it's pretty hokey. But there are some real survival lessons that we can learn from this psychological mind bender. And that's what I want to share with you today. Hey, I'm Jack. I'm a co-founder of SkilledSurvival.com and theresilientlife.com. And I've been posting my survival tips, tricks, strategies, and reviews since 2013. So if you enjoy survival and preparedness information, subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell notification so you never miss a future video. And at the time of making this video, we are giving away a free Firehawk tactical flashlight. Now, we recently overbought on these crazy bright flashlights, and we need to move the inventory fast. So we're giving away this excellent everyday carry, small but tough as hell flashlight. All we ask is you pay a small shipping and handling fee. So if you're interested, click the link in the description below to claim your free Firehawk flashlight. Now, before we continue, there are a ton of spoilers in this video. So if you haven't seen it yet, you don't want anything spoiled, then don't watch the rest of this video. Okay, you've been warned. Number one, the more fragile you are, the fewer options you have. It's hard to imagine ever being in such an insane situation as playing a child's game with elimination or death as the cost of loss. It's demented. It has a stupid risk versus reward proposition. It's easy to assume no one would choose this in real life. But some folks do put themselves in terrible real life situations all the time. For example, the more debt you have, the more fragile you are to a future turmoil. Because owing other people a lot of money not only undermines your financial resiliency, but if you owe the wrong person, such as the mob, you could end up paying for that with your life. The bottom line is, if you live a resilient life, you have more options. You can avoid situations where you're forced to make such insane sacrifices. Number two, keep your mind flexible. Be ready to adjust quickly to new information. The scene where everybody starts getting shot in red light, green light game, about half of the players immediately start running away. Fear grabs hold and they bolt. But moving during a red light is the thing that gets you killed. Your instincts may be shouting, "Run!" in certain survival situations, but that may be the worst choice. For example, running may not be the wisest choice in an active shooter situation. Perhaps by running, you may become more of a target. Why? Because the movement may attract the attention of the shooter more than somebody who's hunkering down. The point is, you must remain flexible, keep your initial emotions under control, and try to think and process new information quickly. Often, it's better to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Okay, number three, under extreme pressure, even your best friends can turn into enemies. As humans, we tend to think we'll always take the moral high road, even in the most extreme situations. But the truth is, if you're ever in a true me versus them survival scenario, well, trust can be tough to come by. Hopefully, you can trust close family members, but close friends may not be as close as you think if they realize you both cannot survive. For example, in the Squid Game, before the marble game is played, the players were told to team up without knowing ahead of time what the game was going to be. So naturally, players chose partners who they trusted. For example, one team was made up of a husband and wife, and another was made up of a younger player and an older man who had created a bit of a bond. Once the game began, they quickly realized only one of them could win. The other got eliminated. This game created the ultimate you versus your friend or lover choice. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. Number four, never underestimate the capacity for evil within humans. While it's easy to assume Squid Game is so far removed from reality that it could never happen, human history is filled with equally awful tragedies: genocide, war, human trafficking, child abuse. How are these human activities that happen in our real world on a vastly different scale than Squid Game? They're not. And even worse, it's not a movie. These things really happen in this sick world of ours. Human beings, as moral species, are broken. And we do horrendous acts to each other for nothing more than money, power, and pleasure. How is that less grotesque than Squid Game? It's sad and it's sick, and it's a little bit like looking in the mirror. Number 5, survival, never give up, even when the odds seem impossible. Okay, there's several games throughout the Squid Game where the odds seem impossible for the protagonist to survive, but he never gives up. For example, he discovers that licking the fragile honeycomb helped him remove the umbrella shape without breaking it. He didn't give up. Instead, he kept working and thinking and trying to figure out how to survive. He blocked out all the assassinations going on around him, and he figured out a way to survive. Number 6, having the proper tools can make all the difference. Again, in that same honeycomb shape removal game, one of the players had snuck in a needle and a lighter. These tools allowed her to heat the needle and use it to melt the shape out easily. This was a huge advantage, and it allowed her to survive into the next round. So having the right tool for the job is a significant advantage in all projects, especially in survival. Number 7, the higher your morals, the more serious you should take preparedness. Okay. This lesson may be hard for some to hear. Having a high moral standard is not resilient. It's the opposite. It limits your options in a true survival scenario. Because without ethics or remorse, you're free to do as you wish. You could kill, you can rape, you can steal, etc. A psychopath who takes what they want in a lawless society will rule. Just watch The Walking Dead for an example of this. Now, in the Squid Game, a few unethical players make it far into the game by using others for their own gain. And those who had higher morals, well, they tend to get eliminated along the way. Now, the only way to combat this reality in real life situations is to focus on being more prepared ahead of time. The more resources and the more tools and the more skills you have, the more resilient you are. So if you have high morals, then you need to be more prepared. And hopefully that way you can avoid the worst moral compromises. Now, as a Christian who's also into preparedness and survival, I've come to grips with this reality. I believe there's more to life than just living. If you believe in a higher power or just morals in general, then jeopardizing these morals to survive is not worth it. But the lesson here is you should be aware of the situation, and the more moral you are, the more prepared you should get now, before your morals are really tested. Number 8, dumb luck plays a bigger role in survival than most people think. In the Squid Game scene, I was reminded of this where the protagonist must choose between going first or going last. You see, players don't know what the game is, but they're forced to choose a number between 1 and 16, because there's only 16 players left at this point. The protagonist was about to choose number 1, thinking, well, it's best to go first because the games have all been timed, and the more time he has, that may be a significant advantage. But then he thinks, well, perhaps I should go last and I can learn from the others. In the end, someone else steps up and asks for the number 1, and our protagonist gets number 16. Well, in this game, going first is essentially certain death, and going last is the best choice. But it's just dumb luck. Without knowing what the game will be, it's a random crapshoot. And in real life, nobody knows what the next major worldwide crisis is going to be. So it's a bit of dumb luck if you choose to focus your time and energy on preparing for just one single event. Instead, you should focus on making yourself more resilient across the board. That way, you'll be more prepared for whatever the future holds. Number 9, a weaker group working together can overcome a stronger, dysfunctional group. In the tug-of-war game, the weaker team overcame a stronger team using better plan of attack and better coordination. The stronger team assumed more strength was all they needed, and they overestimated their own abilities. They were pulled from the ledge and dropped to their death. The idea behind this happens all the time in real life, especially in sports. So if you're a part of a survival coalition, it's best to be both skillful and coordinated. You need everyone to pull their own weight and to be honest and trustworthy. I'd rather join a team of folks who are honest and caring and trustworthy, but weaker, instead of a group of egomaniacs who are big and strong. Number 10, think about the rules carefully. Make sure you're not making unnecessary assumptions. Sometimes we make assumptions in life about the rules and they're not really there to begin with. This lesson comes from the one-on-one marble game. You see, the rules of the game are simple. Here they are. In this game, using your set of 10 marbles, you will play the game of your choice with your partner. The player who manages to take all 10 marbles from their partner wins. Okay, here's the catch though. Lady Anne, a Squid Game enthusiast, posted on TikTok, quote, "The rules said you must take your partner's marbles, but it didn't stipulate that you must have all 20 marbles. So if two players each start with 10 marbles, then throughout the game, they give and they take back and forth, then each player will be able to take 10 marbles from each opponent by the end of the game, which means they both technically can stay alive." But unfortunately, the players in Squid Game never realize this technicality, and someone ends up eliminated. Too bad. But it just goes to show you that you must fully understand the game's rules, and perhaps you'll figure out a better way to survive. Number 11, being terrible at math can be a major disadvantage. Okay, here's the deal. I think anyone who decided to play Squid Game is just a little tiny bit like folks who regularly play the lottery. Now, of course, this is an absurd comparison. Losing a few dollars in the lotto is not even in the same league of risk as far as permanent elimination goes, but the math is just somewhat the same. In most statewide lottery games and Squid Game, one person can win. Everyone else in the end loses. So the odds of winning in the Squid Game or the lottery are astronomically low. Heck, your odds are actually a little bit better in Squid Game than statewide lotto games. For example, the odds of winning the Squid Game all out, not taking skill and strength, etc. into consideration here, are 1 in 456, or 0.219%. While the odds of winning the Powerball was recently quoted at 1 in 292 million, or about 0.000000000342, or something like that. Some tiny, tiny number. And that's why I've heard it said, quote, "The lottery is a tax on those who are bad at math." So if you're looking at the statistics from purely math, it's true. Okay, if you're still watching this video, you obviously enjoy this type of content. So make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, pick up my free Firehawk flashlight that I talked about earlier. All you need to do is pay a small shipping and handling fee. Super bright, super tough. Take it everywhere you go. It takes a single AA battery. It's a great little flashlight. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description below. Okay, until next time, prepare, adapt, and overcome.